Hello, everybody. It's time to have a more thorough discussion of MMC's Incursus. Rather than go over every kind of transformation, what we'll do is we'll send them off into robot mode or vehicle mode, and then we'll end in torso mode, which is where I intend to keep them for the time being. So that'll make sense. How are you, Solamist44? And Johan Diaz? Hi. How is everyone? How is all three of you? Both of you. Maybe one of them is me. I don't know. The only accessory it really comes with is this gun thing. The handle folds up, but I'm not quite sure. I mean, this could kind of go between his two turrets. There's like a plug for it, so I guess that's why. And then you pull this out for a robot gun, and then you pull this additional bit out to make the handle bigger for his big, hand mode. So it ends up being a pretty small gun for the combiner. But, he just smashes things. He doesn't need a big gun. He's a real nice figure. He's got some interesting locking mechanisms. I had wondered in the last video about one in particular on his foot. And we'll get into that when we get to the combiner mode. But for now, we'll turn him into a truck. Let me see if I can get everything out of the way that I need out of the way. So we're just going to bring up the arm. A lot of ratchet joints there. Open the hand. And you really do kind of need a spludger to extract the hand, unless you're really patient and you want to hurt your fingers. Because you can kind of push there below where the hinge is running through here. So you can kind of push on it and get it out, but it's so much easier just to put something in there behind his hand and push the hand out. The handle won't be out again for this video, so I thought it bore explaining. And this is a scary little pop joint. The main thing is to make sure that this flap is out of the way. The videos, the stop motion was a little bit off because I forgot the flap, but it's better to get the front end like that, and then the flap actually kind of tabs a little bit. But the tabs aren't like T-tabs, so they come... You can't really break it. But it's a little easier to do if you do it that way. And this whole thing slides up. I think it breaks the sculpt on the back of the arm. And so I'm kind of on the fence. Like, I almost think he looks better if the wheel sticks out a little bit in robot mode, but with the back of the sculpt clean. But I think officially it's supposed to be, wheel smooth on the top of the arm, and then the back of the arm's kind of broken. But whatever. I'm just going to do the other arm. Also, this whole thing opens better if this isn't up, because it binds right there. So you're better off having that down. I'm just putting the hand away. It's a little off camera because the guy's so big. Alright. And we'll close that down. And then we'll lock this tab. There we go. And flip up this thing. Alright. And now we'll put his head away. The way I arrange things so that I can have like every transformation means that I kind of halfway transform the upper body, and then I do the legs, and then I come back and finish the upper body. So there's kind of like an in-between mode that I call the primordial that lets me do triple changers more efficiently without having to like personally shoot every transition. I just kind of shoot between the primordial and each of the three modes. And so I have 3 sequences, and I just arrange them so that they go from one to the other. But for this demonstration, I'll just be going straight. I'll just be finishing the whole upper body before I move on to the lower body. This whole thing is a little easier to do if you actually just kind of rotate the, like almost like you're getting the big head out. So you're just kind of rotating this swivel there. And then you can kind of tweak the little normal sized head inside the mask and then put it back in. And then this just goes right back where it was for truck mode at least. And we close this back up. We can put the front of the truck halves together. And I like to get this out of the way for at least a minute before I put it in the final position for truck mode, because I've got to get rid of these things. And if this thing is sitting like this, it's a little harder to get these to come out. So I just like to keep it out of the way. Of note, though, there is a waist rotation for the robot mode. And then I'll show you the other waist rotation for the torso mode when we get there. Let's just flip the whole thing over and do the legs. To keep things kind of clean, I kept the legs together, going from one mode to the other, but it really is a little easier to work with if the legs are apart, because you only have to worry with these really heavy joints one leg at a time instead of having to do both at the same time. But basically, this goes like this. It's kind of arbitrary, but officially the instructions say you're supposed to lower the bumper down like that. And then it helps to have like a smooth, I like to use the handle of these clippers because it's there's no sharp, but it's sturdy metal. But basically there's this click tab right there, and it's very firm because for combined mode you don't want any of this foot moving or anything, but you have to pop that loose. And sometimes it helps to just, I mean, you can try pulling on the joint or whatever, but I don't like doing that if I can avoid it. But this whole thing kind of stands up like that. And then this flap goes around, and we'll get back into that when we go to torso mode, because it has kind of an interesting feature to it. We flip this around and tab it all in, and then we can tab that down. And then there's a button for collapsing the leg. It operates at both ends of the run, so you have to unlock it in either direction. So I'm going to unlock it and then press it down, and it pops back out when it gets to the other end of the run. And then we can lower this down. And just real quick, I'm going to do the other leg without commenting on it. Still got sticky tack on his foot. And then we can put the legs together. And then these things flip out, and they're just like gap covers. It's a little sloppy. There's probably some more elegant way to do it, but it works pretty good, and it's not overly complicated or anything, so that's nice. And then I'm going to stand the gun up the way it's supposed to be. And that's our vehicle mode. It's a very long vehicle. It has a release here that's very hard to push. I like to use the flat of this to push down on the button because it hurts my fingers. But you're basically trying to release this. There's like a joint right there, the rotation joint. And you're trying to get this, there's like a beveled click pin right there. So you're trying to push it down far enough to release it, and it's tricky. The release mechanism goes with it. And then this expands out like that. And it just gives you a little bit of an articulation to the trailer. But we'll just put that back where it goes and leave it alone. Oh, and I forgot. You can't put the truck down on its wheels properly unless you flip these up. Which is why in the stop motion, like one of the first things I do is flip them down so I won't forget. But he's pretty cool. Kind of a silly truck, but he's just like the G1 version of himself. We'll take a little catch up on the comments break here. Let me scroll up. Just ordered gap fillers for Studio Series Dark of the Moon Optimus Prime. Okay, all right. Shark says hi. Hi, Shark. Should have review for the kit when it arrives. Yeah, I'll be including the kit when I combine all of them. So that the kit review, or the inclusion of the kit in my video will kind of wait until after everything is in. Seen the final components for Studio Series Devastator? Yes, I have. They look good. I mean, Studio Series is a relatively inexpensive way of getting that. I did decide to go in on the Devil's Savior, or at least I'm going to try out the Mixmaster for that MP style Constructicons. So if I like that, I might continue doing it. I just don't like how small the wheels are on their version of Scavenger. Let's see. I have Hightower and Rampage at the moment. Yeah, you do need a few more. There's only 2 left, I guess, now for me to get before I combine them. I've had too many like MP figures. Oh no. So I haven't been doing the Studio Series Constructicons lately. The Solo Mist does reviews. All right. Hey Pack, what's up? I got the TE Shattered Glass last week. He's damn clean. We talked about him last time you were doing your Transforming Voodoo. G Creations Fuma 6-shot is supposed to be here tomorrow. Okay. I hope G Creations is not dead, because I really want them to do that IDW Megatron they teased with a silhouette, like a companion piece for Ultra Maximus, one of my favorite figures. It'd be nice if they did that. But we'll see. We'll see if G Creation is gonna rise from the grave. They just showed like they're doing like a movie Grimlock, so it's like kind of WTF. Like, how about you do that IDW Megatron you teased, for God's sakes? Whatever. Guess they'll either get around to it or they won't. When you go to combine mode with this guy, you can kind of do the legs like right away without extending them first. I extend them in the video, but mostly because in the reverse direction, this will kind of get caught. So technically it's easier to extend the legs and then do the double bend and then collapse it back down again. But going in this direction, you can really get away with it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and bend it down. We're just doing this in reverse because for both of the other modes, the wheels are flipped around in this direction. All right. And we'll get into the locking mechanisms of the feet. Let's see if we can show this. So last week I'd noticed this this extra pin here, and it's all in service of this one little tab that you can flip up. And what this is, the tab needs to flip down because it needs to be flush like this. And in robot mode, it needs to be not engaged because you want the ankle tilt. You want the ankle rocker. But for the combined mode, you flip this tab out, and it goes into this piece that's not part of the ankle rocker. It goes in there, and then actually you press it, and there's like a little click. And there you go. Now it doesn't have an ankle rocker anymore. That's the point of that. We re-articulate the foot just like we do for robot mode, which means we need to make sure we snap this heavy clip joint here. We do the ankle. And then this part flips all the way up here and sits flush. And then this big box here captures this. And so you end up with a very sturdy, like there's no more foot anymore. It's all been locked in, so you can't articulate the foot in any direction. You flip down the toe just to make it kind of an ornament, like a kneecap. And we flip out the combiner chunk. And so that's pretty much combiner mode. Do the other side with less commentary. Flipping out the little thing and locking the foot. And then bringing it down. Bringing this up and locking it in. Toe and combiner port. So that's pretty much it for the thighs of the combiner. So this is the robot mode waist. But what we could do is lock that waist, which you can also do in car mode if you want to. It prevents you from separating it anymore, though. And then I can go ahead and pull this out, but in some cases it's easier to do this later. But I just want to do it now just to show you. You flip this all the way down, and now that that joint's free, now this joint, the gun's kind of in the way, but this joint is now the waist joint for the big combiner guy. So it's one quarter of an inch higher than the other waist joint. I'm not sure why they went to all the trouble, but it works out okay. So we flip this down, we open up the back panel, spread the arms out. I always do this. I forget the stupid chest piece. It's pinned in. It doesn't seem to cause any trouble when you spread it out. It just spreads these out too. But it is cleaner to go ahead and get these out of the way first and then split these out. So split these in half. I'm just going to get this out of the way for a second because I can focus on what happens with the combiner arms. So you snap this loose. You get the wheel retracted. And there's a tab and a notch in the arm. So that goes like that. And then we're just, we can get this out of the way because I keep forgetting it. And we flip this out and rotate it around, and then we put it back down. I've not quite figured out why there's a hinge here. Like, what is this for? Because it certainly seems to tab in better with it folded. And in robot mode it's folded, and in vehicle mode it's folded, and now in combiner mode it's folded. So I don't know why. The only thing I can think is it was just kind of a way to attach the thing, but I can't imagine why this is. Because this tab is like critical to tabbing into that hole there. So in all the modes it's folded. I don't know why it would unfold. Maybe someone can opine. You flip up the combiner port, and then we're just going to leave that out of the way for a minute. Doing the same thing over here, catching up on jumping in here to see the master do his work. Okay, all right, I appreciate that. I forgot to move that flap out of the way again. Oh, and by the way, you move the flap back when you're done. So flip this around, move the flap back, flip this up, and now these are kind of parked and ready to go. The problem is you can't really put them in place yet because this panel has to open. I mean, you could put this one in place if you wanted to, but this panel would collide with the other arms, so we're just going to leave them out for now. So this flips up. It does have like, it's just pinned. And even in the instructions, they suggest that you can expand this a little bit to get it for a little more room for the little head to come out. But I also suspect this will have to do with how later on you can replace the chest with that replacement chest, the silver chest that they give you. And it can pop off. I just don't want to do it right now, but it pops off pretty easily. We need to get these chest pieces out of the way. So we're going to rotate them to the side. These are also replaced in the kit that they're selling. The most important part of that kit is the bigger boots, because frankly, like that guy, those feet are kind of dinky. It looks a little silly. So it has like big fat boots that you can put on them that are silver, which make it kind of nice too. But we're just rotating this whole armature around there. Then we can go ahead and close the back up. This extends, and these pieces get wider, and then we retract a little bit. I don't like to retract all the way. I like them splayed out more than I like them converging. So, but now that we're done with that, we can get this in place, and there's a little tab it's just a guidance hole that doesn't really tab in, but there's pins and guidance holes there. And we do the same thing with this one. And then these are pretty robust. So you get this big hole. The little hole's just for tabbing it in truck mode. The big hole goes on this double clip. So you just want to make sure the hole's lined up. It would be a shame to like rip off one of these clips by not lining it up properly. But it snaps on. It seems to go better if it's a little indented like this, like a little Z'd in, like that. But we're just gonna pop that on there. Pop this one on here. It kind of holds the arms together. It does still allow a little bit of range of motion, because you can see here we can butterfly the shoulder a little bit, and it just articulates that little Z hinge. So you can give it a little bit of a butterfly without having to, obviously if you unplug this, then you get a lot more range. And then we flip out the wings and flip down this. And then we have our big head reveal. Da, da, da. And one thing I definitely didn't get to last week is how he actually combines with the other thing. We're going to catch up on comments and then combine him at least with the two things that we have. Fair enough. Yeah, Shark, do you have the Mixmaster Devil Savior? It looked like it was pretty good. It looks fiddly, but as long as it's not as fiddly as Fans Toys, then I'll probably be happy with it. Probably easier to combine the arm right now. It's really super easy to do this too. You get a lot of combiners where you have to like really snap the arm on, and it can be a real nightmare. But this isn't bad at all. You want to make sure that this hanging pin, it just kind of flips like this. Now they made both of the shoulders are just exactly the same part. So this shoulder you flip up the front to lift the pin or the tab, and in this one you lift the back because it's just mirror reversed. It's flipped over. So they didn't make two of these parts mirror images of each other. They just made the same part and put it on both sides. I mean, I guess it could be a production mistake, but I don't see any reason why they need to, because this locking, it doesn't matter if you unlock from the front or the back, it's not going to get in the way of anything. But we just lift that up. We want to make sure that this is up like this. It came packed, I think, more like that, but it really needs to be up. This arm has a big crossbar here. Let's see if I can get it in focus. But you have this big crossbar that goes from one side to the other. And that's what the tab is going to catch when it goes back down. Otherwise, there's these teeth, these dentitions, and they go into the slots on either side of that part there. So it just slides in super easy, and then you just grab it with that pin mechanism. And now you've got a perfectly articulated robot arm with, you know, lots of possibilities. Ratchet is just tight enough to keep everything under control. I think they did a really fine job of coming up with the arm joint there. It's going to be a really, really impressive figure when they're done. We'll do the leg. So this flips down. Always wondered what happened to this, because in the instructions they just show it sitting there, and it kind of flips down, but I'm like, you know, how's that going to interact with the leg? Well, there's actually a big hollow here from where this goes, and so there is some place for that to go. So what we're going to do is we'll articulate this a little bit, slide it on. Also, just like the arm, super easy to slide on. It's not like some nail-biting experience because they have these locking mechanisms. And then this hood goes back in place and prevents the mechanism from sliding back out. And as you can see, this weird little bit just fits right up inside the knee cavity. And so that's what he looks like with his leg. He's going to be a tall boy. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, the camera doesn't really go that far back. But he's huge. He's going to be, that's 9. So he's probably to the top of his head is about 17 inches tall. He's not as big as some of the other combiners out there, but he's all built in, which is kind of nice. But you can see the foot kind of the foot reads a little bit too small. But it is all built in, but you can put the big boots on later too. I'm going to take the leg off just so I can stand them up. And it's super easy to take off. There's not like some heavy duty locking or anything. It's not a nail biter at all. We'll just straighten that out and just kind of stand him up. He can be one-armed for a little bit. Maybe YouTube will pick that for the thumbnail. And that's pretty much it. If anyone has any questions and comments about that particular guy there, let me know. Here's your opportunity. Yeah, it's all in one, plus some boots. Plus, I like the silver chest. I like the toy look more than I want the cartoon look. I mean, this is the cartoon look. It's supposed to look a little bit like the space shuttle. And the space shuttle wings, you know. But the toy was all silver. And that's what I want. I want the all silver to remind me of my glorious childhood in the prime of Transformers. No, I hear you, Darth Clone. It does kind of get rid of the all in, but I like how the feet kind of fold up and those boots kind of fold up, and you can kind of put them between the, like you can keep the legs kind of like spread out in vehicle mode, and you can kind of store them between the legs. You know, they thought of something to do with them at least. Yeah, I mean, why make more than one shoulder ratchet or, you know, shoulder coupling when it doesn't matter if you lift it from the front or lift it from the back? It just needs to be lifted to unlock it. So yeah, I can't imagine that they bothered making a mirror image. What do I have to get for it to be toy looking? Well, there's a upgrade kit. Let me hang on a second. Let's see, Mastermind Creations. It's going to be in this list somewhere. Here it is. So, here's the upgrade kit. It comes with a big gun for the combined mode. It comes with a replacement head. Oh, it's got like the chin. That's a little bit more like the toy head. I'd probably switch that out too. I kind of like that head better than this head. This is, I'm pointing, you can't see. That's more of a cartoon head. So his default mode, what he comes with is the cartoon looking mode. But you can see you can replace the chest panels here. It comes with replacement panels that are like, it's like the wings, those parts. So those are silver too. Just in this picture you're seeing they're flipped upside down because that's like the new chest mode. Probably more like the toy too. And then there's the feet that kind of fold up. And Shozi always has a great array of pictures for these things, but there's a close-up of it. Here's Swindle wondering why they went to all the trouble of doing all built-in if we were going to switch things out. Here's how the boots at least go on to Swindle. Or Fraudo. Here he is with the replacement chest. Here's how they can pack in between the trailer legs. Though I dare say the trailer won't. Maybe it'll articulate. So there's our view of the replacement head and replacement chest. I really like it. It reminds me of the toy, and I really like the toy more than I bothered with liking the cartoon look. So that'll be nice. But that's available for pre-order everywhere you go. But Shozi has it if you want it. I had good news with my Dragoon. My Unique Toys Dragoon has shown. For weeks and weeks, the tracking number just didn't work because of Chinese New Year and coronavirus. And recently, it's been acknowledged by the system and says that it's left the Shanghai hub, which means someone's working again. So someone's moving, and I hope everyone's safe and healthy over there in China. But from my point of view, I just want to get my stuff. I'm going to mix the toy head and the cartoon chest. Right on. So keep this chest and switch out the head. I like the head with the sort of chin, the little goatee or whatever. I like that look. So that's everything we have to talk about this week. This weekend, I don't expect Dragoon to show up in the next couple of days. Very unlikely. May not even show up in the next couple of weeks. So for now, I've got the weird little toy wolf urinal guy that I'm going to shoot. And then if I run dry at all, I guess I can shoot, maybe catch up on some Studio Series Constructicons. Because I still have to shoot the other foot. I've still got to shoot, now I've got to shoot the Scavenger, the torso, and I got to shoot Mixmaster, and I don't know. If I think about doing I really should shoot the Studio Series stuff occasionally, because some people like to see, there's some people that can't afford the big MP toys, and they like to see something they can actually find in the store and own themselves, do its little stop motion thing. So I should really do some more production toys here and there. Just, a guy like this, I'm not going to skip a week. I'm going to do him right away. Pull the web up. I saw something interesting. Well, let me go back to that page we were on. Now I can't read your comment while it's up. What did you see that was interesting? I'll just kind of scroll a little bit here, and then you can tell me. Then you can tell me what it was when I switch back, so I can see what the hell you're saying. All right. I'd really appreciate a Studio Series long haul of it. I will do. I mean, I did those 2 deluxes. For God's sakes, I've got to do long haul. I've got to do Scavenger. I've got to do Mixmaster. And before too long, I'll have to do the other 2, whatever they're called. Well, it's not going to work that way, Shark. So maybe you could just kind of describe which picture you're talking about. I'm sorry. I'm trying to juggle my screens here. I've only got 2 screens. If I pull up that thing, then that's what's on the screen, not the chat. The Megatron in the corner. Okay, fair enough. Let's try to find what you're talking about. Oh, you said up, so maybe it's up here. Oh, this guy? I think you're probably talking about this guy, but now I got to go back to chat to see if that's what you mean. Overload and Scrapper, yes, indeed. Thank you, Solemist. Solemist. The Overload, you never even saw the robot mode. It's just based off of their concept drawings. And you guys are finally seeing me gesture at that thing. And now Shark can tell me whether... Yeah, that's the Megatron you're talking about? Well, feel free to comment on it. I'll bring it back up and go to its page so you can see the pictures. But yeah, there was this Exquisite Toys, whoever the hell that is. You never know if it's like some company that we're actually familiar with, just operating under a different name. But they came up with this thing. And we haven't actually seen the... Have we seen the vehicle mode for this yet? No. There's no vehicle mode yet, but it looks pretty complicated. And it looks like it does transform. It's not just... Yeah, that could be interesting. Especially if they work out, like Hasbro did last time, how to make the trailer articulate. The new Studio Series Leader figure, the trailer does not articulate, which is kind of a bummer. It looks good. It'd be cool if it has the articulated trailer, or maybe just a trailer that you can remove and articulates. And it comes with chains and stuff. It's very cool if you like the movie designs. I had one of my followers was talking about how they hate the movie designs, and that's really not the worst part of the movies for me personally. I think the designs are interesting and clever. They're a little scrap, a little junky. Although we were in particular talking about Lahir, DX9's Lahir, which is not scrappy looking at all. I mean, it looks like there's car parts all over the place, but I don't know. I think it's an elegant looking design. The later movie designs are a little less skeletal and garbage looking. But the main problem with the movies for me is the inane, nonsensical plot. Yeah, it looks interesting. It is an interesting figure. Wish you guys can check it out yourself at Show Z. They really do put up a nice array of pictures. Reminds me, I forgot to tell him that I finished the... Guess it's time to fire off an email. Whoa. All right. Let's see. Well, the second Bay Prime was a little cleaner and less skeletal, which I kind of like. Although they were kind of going down the road to that weird, King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table inanity that they had for the plot. So I suppose him looking a little bit like a knight is maybe a cruel or a sickening reminder of that idiotic plot. But oh yeah, the Bumblebee movie Prime is great, and I did a video for the Studio Series version of that because pretty clever Studio Series design. It looks like Wei Zhang has a like an upgraded version of the Studio Series design. See if I can find it. Go back to Home. See if I can find fourth party Wei Zhang. Because yeah, I guess they already sold out on their pre-order. I should have moved faster. But it looks like they improved how the feet stow, and also those of you familiar with the Studio Series version, the arms have a lot of like kibble all over them hanging off the back, like flaps. And it looks like they manage that better here. They wrap it around his forearm or something. But it's a nice improvement, it looks like. But, it's Wei Zhang. It's, essentially the same. They did a lot with the legs, too, though, I see. So it's like the studio, it's like the Hasbro design, but improved and with better finish. I swear, these guys must be somehow legit, like, buying the design from Hasbro, or, I don't know. You'd think they get in trouble for that, because it's practically a knockoff. It's just an improved knockoff. But I assume some sort of money is exchanging hands, or they're getting a license to do a variant of that mold, or I don't know how it works. It's pretty amazing to me what they're getting away with. If it's not legit, I don't know. People refer to it as fourth party or whatever. That doesn't even make sense. Don't get me started on the first, second, and third party thing, because there are people that vehemently disagree with me on this, and I don't want to fight about it. Yeah, the Age of Extinction Last Night Prime is better than the original one. But the Bumblebee Prime might be the best Prime of all. All those Cybertron scenes in Bumblebee were great. Well, listen, I'm gonna extend my 2-minute warning. It never seems to be 2 minutes. But if anyone has any final comments or questions or quips or queries, anything else that starts with a Q. Yeah, I mean it's hard to like they can trademark a design like the Decepticon logo, which is why none of the third party companies will put a Decepticon logo on their figure, because that's something Hasbro can copyright. But it's hard to copyright like a design. It's hard to copyright the general look of a robot. I mean, this is like spot on, looks like Bruticus, but they get away with it because there's no way to copyright something that looks kind of like Bruticus. So. Yeah, and Darth Clone, you're probably right. That's probably why they get away with it, because it's not technically the same thing. There are a lot of similarities. I remember I got the Evasion Mode Prime. I love that the Hasbro figure of Evasion Mode Prime, but then Wei Zhang made it bigger and die cast and improved a lot of the wheels were able to switch. Instead of having a wheel at the hip, you could rotate it down and it would be with the other wheel that was technically the front wheel. That thing was very clever. I like that. Might get Zeta Toys Bumblebee. I'm not quite sure yet. I want to see some more. I've seen one reviewer transform it, and it looks very like fiddly. I like things to be a little more elegant than that looks at the moment, but it might grow on me. I might pick it up. I can only do so many things. I've basically got 52 slots a year for what I do. So some things have to get skipped, especially if I'm going to do some of the Studio Series stuff from time to time for my fans that are collecting the domestic toy releases. All right, I don't know when I said the 2-minute warning, but now there's a 2-minute warning. We're gonna wrap things up at 7:17. 7:17. Yeah, I like how Zeta made that Bumblebee look more like the movie version. If Takara if they'd all just held their horses and waited for the movie design to be finalized, then the Takara version could have looked like the movie version. But instead, they kind of jumped the gun. They used a preliminary design that ended up not being the final design of the movie, and suddenly he's still got wings like he did in the first trilogy. Quintilogy? Quintigy? Pentagy? I don't know. I probably won't do Generations War for Cybertron stuff. I know a lot of people have them. I was kind of fascinated by how Optimus Prime, the first War, the Siege Optimus Prime, he had like a lot of little areas where you had to do something before you did something else. So the sequencing seemed to be a little more complex for him than for most Generations style toys. I really kind of question whether I should be even buying or collecting Generations, because they're simpler. There comes a point where you can't collect everything because there's just not enough space, and it's a lot of money ultimately to collect every line. So I, like, for example, when Cyberverse came out, I gave it a good look and said, all right, I'm not going to collect that. Although I did buy one Cyberverse toy. I bought the Quintessons. Just because it's the only way to get a Quintesson without going through some third party. Yeah, the Transform Element Mirage looks nice. I might pick it up. It depends on what Takara announces. I mean, so far Takara's just saying they're doing Rogue. Or what's her name? Not Rogue. RC. And Tigatron. I don't know. I don't know if... I tend to get like all the Takara releases, although I skipped the Chosen Prime loaned me the MPM Megatron, but it's like a garbage design. What does it turn into? I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So I'm never going to have that. and I may not get Tigatron. Tigatron, you know, it's a lot of money to spend on something that basically transforms like Cheetor. So it may not be worth it to me to go after Tigatron, but I'll definitely pick up RC. Nah, you know, Siege is nice. Siege is nice. I like how they all have ankle rockers. It's a quality line given the modern day constraints where everything's hollow and the wheels snap on instead of being pinned on. Um, yeah, Earthrise is doing Quintessons. Quintessons. I feel like I'm just not getting the pronunciation right. Quintessons. Anyway. Well, I hope they do. I don't know. I did get the Earthrise Deluxes. So I got Cliff Jumper and Hoist and Ironworks. I'm a little skeptical of the things that you take apart. But I suppose they're fun for the kids. Well, like, yeah. I mean, for what they are, Earthrise or the Generations lines are pretty good. Pretty good with some interesting complexity. I like how they really stuck the landing on Siege and now Earthrise with having ankle rockers. A little bit of an ankle rocker makes a big difference when you're trying to pose your figure. Oh, they're on the box art. I didn't notice. I guess I don't pay much attention to box art. I'm sorry. All I care about is the physical designs. Everything else is... I mean, I watched the cartoons when I was 11, but I can't say that I've watched a lot of G1 cartoons since then. Mostly I like complicated designs because it's worth showing. You know, I could do an Earthrise figure, but nobody's going to watch that video and go, so that's how it transforms. I mean, everyone's figured that out. It's not complicated. And granted, this guy's not terribly complicated. I don't think anyone's confused by him, but, you know, he's kind of a premium third-party figure, so you at least get people that can't afford him, but they want to see him. They want to watch a video of him transforming, so you get that. Yeah, I mean, having good posability, I think, is what makes it a good action figure. It's funny how it strikes me as funny how the Transformers a lot of times have better posability, better pose stability. You know, the ability to, you know, pose them up is better than like the Marvel Selects or the Star Wars Black. I mean, I don't know. I think it's pretty impressive that the thing transforms, but also has really good articulation and can be posed in a lot of ways. So it's good value. I assume that's why the line continues to do well for Hasbro. Yeah, there was no Bumblebee in Siege. What a welcome break. I mean, I don't mind Bumblebee as a character, but I mean, it you get Bumblebee exhaustion. I've got like 50 molds throughout the movie throughout the movie lines of various Bumblebees, you know. Yeah, I mean, the bee will probably come out in the same size scale as the Cliff Jumper. He's on the art too. Okay. Yeah, and we already got Cliff. I wonder if B will basically be the same mold. They'll come up with a new mold for B, right? Sure. I don't like how Cliff Jumper is basically a parts former, though. That pulling off the back of the car and then putting it back on a robot mode, it seems a little bit like cheating. But anywho. Alright, listen, gang, we're 7 minutes into my 2-minute warning. We are at the 49-minute mark. So I am going to sign off. I appreciate everyone stopping by. Any other comments, I can reply to them if you just put them on the video itself. And everyone have a good week. You can look forward to a weird little urinal transformer on Sunday. Thank you and good night.